My presentation will be about a film project, art film project, that is named A Tree Doesn't Fall Far from the Mountain. And this is a series of 4 experimental feature-length films, art films, produced between 2022 and 2023 by artists JATUN RISBA, myself, and Živa from Italy. The filming location in all the films was the Ljak Natural Park nearby Nova Gorica, a landscape traversed by the irregular karstic spring of Ljak Creek, which remains dry for much of the year, but surprises with sudden torrents after heavy rains. The site lies close to the Socha Valley, and here, so here we have Gorica, Nova Gorica, and let's say the filming location is somehow here. And so, Socha Valley, a mountainous region that served as the Isonzo front during World War I, where an estimated 1.7 million soldiers lost their lives. And Rivera's grandfather, so the artistic collaborator in the project, was among the Italian soldiers sent to this front and was one of the few who returned alive. So this personal history opens a cross-temporal vortex in which the authors deliberately immerse themselves, confronting and transforming the traces of transgenerational war-related trauma inscribed in this politically contested terrain, a region that is currently hosting the first cross-border European capital of culture, Nova Gorica, Gorizia. And here there is a photo of the grandfather and let's say the certificate that he, or the medal he gained. And now, so the shooting, I went too far. The shooting of the first movie began in spring 2022 in a world still affected by the pandemic after an initial visit to the site. With no intention of starting a film project without screenplay, budget or crew, it emerged instead as an instinctive, creative drive in response to a subtle pulsation, a quiet yet tangible solicitation dripping directly from the land. At least this is how I retrospectively interpret the beginnings of an ambitious, time and energy consuming project that had no rationale or agenda to come into being. And rather than following a fixed plan, it unfolded as both a process-based exploration of the karst landscape and its concealed mysteries, and as a practice of rewilding. In contrast to the regimented militarized training imposed on soldiers, our daily preparation for filming unfolded as exercises in listening and haptic attunement, practiced through proximity, vulnerability, and wonder. It was an exposé of the harsh, yet at times enchanted condition of moving through an untamed terrain that we did not seek to control, but rather to fully embrace and correspond with. And now I will step into some, let's say, esoteric, mystical, and also scientific reflections that informed the work's modus operandi and are kind of related to my artistic practice in general as well. And it's also, so now something that relates to the discourses that we heard in the symposium about liquidity and water. So this is like, but addressed from a different perspective. So the centrality of the water and its drifting quality in the work can be read as an expression of the oceanic self that is regulated by and attuned to the pulsatile movements of the cerebrospinal fluid, CCF, which is represented here. The liquid matrix, very similar to seawater by its constitution, that envelops and nourishes the central nervous system. While neuroscience acknowledges CCF as crucial for brain development, signaling, and waste clearance, physician-researcher Mauro Zapatera advances a more radical proposition, that CSF is the vessel of consciousness itself. informed by Asian system of knowledge. This is like on the left we see depiction of the human body and its vessels and its inner channels in the system of Solar Rigpa, Tibetan medicine. And this is like a, let's say, a more standardized depiction of the CSF from contemporary times. And so, informed by Asian system of knowledge, the perspective reframes CCF as more than a psychological substrate. It becomes a living interface between body and mind, a fluid medium of awareness. And yogic and tantric practices such as pranayama, kundalini tumo, and poa, the transfer of consciousness of that, map a subtle anatomy of the body in which channels, winds, and drops circulate. Through these circuits, inner fluids and energies are said to regulate perception, vitality, heat, and states of consciousness. And such esoteric traditions conceptualize consciousness itself as circulation, flowing through networks of energy and fluidity rather than being embedded in neural tissue. This view resonates with contemporary understandings of endogenous psychoactive substances such as DMT, endorphins, and cannabinoids that are synthesized within the body, modulating perception and consciousness from within. In this light, Asian somatic practices anticipate what Romain Rolland termed the oceanic feeling, later theorized by Freud as a state of ego dissolution and a sensed interconnectedness with the cosmos. Taken together, these two perspectives suggest that consciousness may arise not only from neural activity but also from the circulation of endogenous psychoactive compounds and physiological fluids within the body. And recent studies of CCF imply that the self is not a bounded, isolated entity, but rather a fluid relational process. Approached in this way, consciousness is not merely housed in the brain, but rather circulates, modulates, and may even emerge from within its liquid milieu. Drawing on more than a decade-long exploration of human consciousness and subtle anatomy, these ideas and practices found their way into the series, permeating both its material and conceptual debris. The unpredictability of what awaited at the location, insects, rain, slippery surfaces, cold weather, foregrounded the vital materiality of moving through and with the wilderness more than any premeditated creative impetus. These atmospheric conditions decisively shaped the artistic process, framing the film through notions of horizontality between different subjectivities. Thus, the dramaturgy of the film unfolded through porous exchanges between human bodily fluids, sweat, urine, saliva, blood, external waters of this Karsic river that was or was not there, and non-human actors responding to the ever-shifting rhythms and forces of nature. The decision to forego verbal communication enabled the development of post-human narratives and pluralistic storytelling techniques shaped by a multitude of other-than-human encounters and influences. Verbal language was used only in the trailers, where it served to contextualize the anarchic multi-species fabulation of the series, and even then it is mediated through the language and tempo of poetry. And now I want to share with you the trailer of the first movie that we created, that is named as Gore. And so this first act, the spring act, draws inspiration from a tale connected to the site about a Roma family fleeing persecution along the riverbank, tragically losing their children along the way. Forced to survive on their own, they grew up feral. This legend informed the qualia of my soma, leading me to explore how a mythos of political persecution, exile, and abandonment affected my behavior and interaction with the place. The persona the camera is following or capturing the sight of is an opaque entity whose personhood remains vague and shape-shifting. Who is this being? How did they arrive in this land? What is their story? By excluding linguistic communication from the film, the human other becomes a mirror-like surface onto which the audience can easily project whatever they want or need to. The fact that they possess a female body enhances the porosity and increases the number of meanings they are able to convey and evoke, both historically and transcontextually. So let's see the trailer now. So this one.
What do you see in the total darkness of your mind? Dear child, look. Look again. See. Breathe your heart out and feel the entire universe at the tip of the nose. And do nothing at all. No thoughts, no convictions, no trips. It will all turn out just fine. So is up. Shed your face makeup away. No armor, nothing to hide or fear. Relax. And walk in this unconditional expression of nature.
The Autumn Act, which was the second one that we made, is titled Salamandra, and the film continued this inquiry into pre- and post-human sensitivity. In most scenes, the character wears a military shirt or jacket, black leggings and work boots, yet their history and storyline remain ungraspable. What are they doing alone in the woods? Are they a lost soldier or a deserter who abandoned society to await the end of war? At crucial moments, the figure transforms into a numinous presence akin to a dakini. Dakinis are wrathful female spirits or practitioners in Tibetan Buddhism, often regarded as messengers between worlds and forces of transformation. In other sequences, the same figure mutates into insect-like apparitions, revealing the fluidity of the self in relation to the surrounding environment. And we can see again the trailer to contextualize the work.
What do you see now, when the organs have fallen away and the night striped with a yellow dotted coat of tremor took over? Sorrow penetrates the earth through poetry in motion, through poetry in motion, through poetry in motion. Emotions alone can make the stream of thoughts lead. A mirror within the clean, clear water reveals a mystic figure. Underneath the bubbles of life, the undead are constantly in check. A mirror within the clean, clear water reveals a mystic figure. Underneath the bubbles of life, the undead are constantly in check.
In the winter act, Snowdrop, the human character takes on the role of a sniper with a fragmented multiple personality. At times they are rigorously alert and disciplined, at others they exhibit a childlike presence and behavior. The character's inner turbulence is expressed through two distinct dance sequences. By day, a contemplative, almost meditative dance unfolds near a natural water reservoir, whereas at night, in the film's final scene, a tarantata-like dance erupts. Its wild, compulsive, and disoriented movements express a descent into distress and madness of the character or of humanity itself, while drawing on the South Italian tradition of tarantism, a self-healing ritual practiced in a patriarchal society marked by sexual violence and profound economic and gender inequalities. The two dances operate as somatic strategies through which the human other in pain externalizes inner turmoil and transmutes it into embodied transformation.
How do you look at the landscape and yourself now, amidst the frozen emotions, on a thirsty lookout for another? Below the mist of deception, existence persists. Energies in motion cannot be laid off nor downsized easily without revolt. Boom, boom, boom. How to embrace the otherwise in love, be loved. No matter what, no matter who, let you be loved as they come. No matter what, no matter who, let you be loved as they come, as they come, as they come.
And the sniper figure is here. It's almost invisible, but there is a presence. So this act is very hypnotic because you're always looking for somebody who is there, but it cannot be seen or noticed easily. the last film that was shot in the summer and completed the project seasonal cycle, Dran, Devil's Tree, was shot in August 2023. And filming coincided with the most devastating floods in Slovenia in more than a century, turning the work into a pertinent historical document of global climate upheaval. It's the only film to feature a guest performer, the English live artist Pan B. The transgenerational duo, clad in white military camouflage gowns, that lent them an ethereal sorcerer-like presence, responded to the sudden rise of waters with performative rites intended to pacify the agitated spirits and guardians of the land, invoking their attention and blessings.
It takes duality to grasp and fully appreciate the impermanence of life and the demand for nourishment. What is at stake after the mountain's waters break and Gaia's fluids inundate the valley? Orange-colored signaling smoke helps spread the news of the brute force of the climate outcry far away. Wait. What fruits are in season now?
So there is a reference in the title to a legend that comes from the first region in Slovenia that tells a story about how Dran is the tree that the devil chose. So that's okay. Let me go back to this one. Okay. So I just show some photos of each act now. So, and as you can see, like the summer film was the last one, but yeah, so I presented the films in the order in which they were created. So, to conclude, the art series unfolds as a moving image exploration of post-anthropocentric imaginaries and narratives, tracing how they emerge from the interconnectedness of all beings and their attunement to cyclic flows of inner and outer waters. At its heart stands Liak, whose roaring or absent waters serve as the work's true protagonist. The fluid aesthetics of the series are shaped by this spring, constituting a visual and performative articulation of hydrojustice, a concept theorized by Andreas Pilopopoulos-Michalopoulos to describe a post-anthropocentric understanding of justice through the subjectivity of water. In this framework, water is not merely a resource, but the elemental ground of entangled life, dissolving human-centered hierarchies and enabling materially grounded reciprocal relations with the more than human world. The porous imaginary resonates with what Jane Bennett's concept of vibrameter, in which all bodies, organic and inorganic, human and non-human, participate in ceaseless processes of influx and efflux. Together, these perspectives underscore the serious commitment to envisioning art making not as a human-centered practice, bound by colonial, racist and capitalist legacies, but a material flow of vibrant matter expressed in its otherwise richness and vitality. And finally, A Tree Doesn't Fall Far from the Mountain reclaims the grace, synesthetic magic and sensuousness of a body entangled with the land and attuned to the rhythms of the changing seasons and moods of the wild. It gives flesh and sensibility to a fluid, relational self, drifting through life, both carried and penetrated by its currents, becoming and breathing in mutual exchange with all that is.